Hey, good morning, my friends. It's Betty, and I'm out here with Mownique this morning. If those of you who have not seen my previous videos, I pulled her out the garbage. I think she used to be red. I don't know. But I cleaned her up. I did everything short of a complete engine overhaul to get her running again. Took out the carburetor, rebuilt that, changed all the fuel lines, the air filter, the primer bulb, all of that stuff, and I got her running, and she ran great for the whole season. And down here in the south, it's pretty much all year round. She sat up during the winter for a few months, and I pulled her back out, and she was running pretty good for the first few cuts, and now she's just not wanting to crank. When she does, she'll run for just a minute or so and cut off. I don't know what's going on. It might be the air filter, who knows. So we're just gonna start systematically, go through and see if we could figure out the problem. First, I checked the gas, and that's full. I know that's not it. And so now we'll go ahead and check the spark plug. Well, looks there's like a little bit of varnish. It's got a little bit of buildup on it, but I'll just get my brush and scrub it up and make sure the gap is right. I got a spark tester, and I also have a compression tester, so we'll clean this up. I'll test the compression, and we'll make sure there's spark getting in there too. I'm gonna be right back. And I am back. I got it cleaned up as much as possible. There was a little bit of corrosion built up around the electrode, and I got that scrubbed off. And I looked to see if I had another one of these. This is a BR2 LM. I had some BR8s in there for my motorcycle, but not a BR2. So let's go ahead and check the compression before I put that plug back in, see what it says. Ooh. Little bitty fella on there. Come on, guy, get on the leaf. Throw it in the grass. I don't know where that little snail came from. Slug, whatever you want to call it. I think they're snails. Alright. So it should be 90, but if it's a little lower than that, it's okay, because usually it'll build up more pressure once it's actually running. So we'll pull the cord a couple times and see what it goes up to, and watch it for a minute and see if it leaks down or not. A little over 60. Get any higher? Nope, that's about it. I watched it for a minute and it stayed at about 63, so that's okay. It's not as good as I had hoped, but it's okay. So let's go ahead and test for spark now. Hopefully I'll be able to see it in the light. I couldn't tell or not. It was too bright out here to see if a spark hit or not. I think I'm gonna put a little cover over the lawnmower and camera and see that I'll look back at the camera to see if a spark happened or not. So let's try that. Yep, that worked. So there was a spark, and so let's move on to the air filter. Hopefully this, I just grabbed one socket, I just grabbed a 10. It's not a 10, it's smaller. But looks like it also will take a screwdriver. I've got a flathead. Yeah, that'll work. Well, surprisingly the air filter looks good. I was hoping it was gonna be bad, and that would be an easy fix for our problem, but it looks pretty clean. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this panel off and have a look at it. So those might be 8mm bolts. I'll be right back. I was like, I think that just lifts right off of there. Yep, 8 was right. Well, this primer bulb, I don't know if it's good or not. I don't see any cracks in it. There's a lot of caked up buildup around it. Might be a good idea to replace it. That could be part of the problem. Because if air is sucking, if the primer bulb has a crack or a hole in it or is leaking air somehow, it will pull it in and the vacuum won't be enough to keep the fuel in the engine like it should. So these primer bulbs don't really last too long, and it's a good idea to replace them. Sometimes you could pump it and it won't feel like, it'll feel like it's working fine, but because your finger's covering up the hole, and when you push it, it opens it up a little bit, but then when you take your finger off, it closes it, so you can't really find if there's a crack in it or not. But I mean, this one looks okay, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and replace it anyway. You just pry up on the side tabs. It's like a ring. It'll come out. I'm gonna bring it with me up to the store so I can make sure that I get the right one to replace it with. hopefully they have it there. Yeah, there's a screen. I guess you can't really see it. There's a little screen in there and it's pretty gunked up too. So I'll give this whole little pan a real good cleaning, because there's little ports that run. This is where the primer bulb pumps the little fuel into the engine. So we'll get this good and clean and we'll replace this bulb. I am back and I got a bag full of goodies. I got the primer bulb, and good thing that I brought the old one, because there was one just like it but a little bit smaller, so I had to hold the old one up to the box to measure to make sure this was the right one. And since I was there, I got a new air filter and also another spark plug. I figure, well, I'm there, might as well replace them all, do a whole tune-up, and some carb cleaner. That ought to get us running, hopefully. Now it's gotten a little bit warmer out here, I can take off this jacket. Alright, so first thing, put my gloves on and we will clean this this little panel here. I'll clean it real good with the carb cleaner, and then we'll install that primer bulb, the new primer bulb, back in there, and I might take off the carburetor float bowl, check, see if there's any sediment in there, anything like that. That could be something that's clogging up any small ports, making it cut off like that. I mean, it really seemed like an air or fuel problem, the way that it just kind of dies, but you know, if something's clogged up in the port, that's a fuel problem. So let's get this cleaned up. Now to install this primer bulb, it's just a ring and a bulb, and you can see by the way that it's the ridges, it goes in this way, and then you just snap this down into here. And make sure you push it down all the way so that the little tabs, do you hear that little snap? The little tabs got to catch onto there to hold it firmly in place. It's kind of hard to push. But you'll know when it's in there, right? Yep. And I'm so tempted just to hurry up and put this back on, put the new air filter, new spark plug in, and crank it up and see if it runs. But I really should take off that float bowl and look for sediment. And if I put this on, I'm gonna have to just take it back off again. So let's just take off that float bowl and have a look at that. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this carburetor float bowl drain plug. That's a lot of words. It probably takes a 1/2 inch. Let me see. Yeah, that's what it takes. But before I undo that, I got a little can I cut open here. I should not be touching it without gloves on because it is super sharp. And because this is gravity fed and the tank's up here and the tube's here, I should clamp that off before we go any farther so we don't just drain all the fuel out of the tank. So I got my little line clamp here and put it on. There we go. And now let's take this off and see what kind of sediment's in here. Well, let me get started. Yeah, there's some sediment. It's not too bad, but there's some. It don't look too bad. I cleaned it last year. I didn't think it would, but I'll just spray it out with some carb cleaner. Fuel. Oops, spill it, but it's a little cloudy, but not too bad. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it has any fuel in it, so that's good. And the gasket, that feels good. Squeeze it back up on there tight. All right. Now I feel better about putting it all back together. We got the float bowl drained. We got a new primer bulb in. We just popped that new spark plug on there and a new air filter in, and see if it cranks and runs a little better than it did. Okay, let's see if she cranks. That was the first pull. Can you believe that? I mean, I pull and pull and pull at that thing, and until my shoulder gets sore and it don't crank. So the problem with changing everything at once is that you don't know what the problem was. I don't know if it was a spark plug or the air filter or something in the carburetor, but that doesn't matter because it runs. I mean, that's the important thing. I just changed all three of those, and now it runs great. So we may never know what the problem was, but as long as it's running, that's what matters. Let me just see if it'll crank again. had to say something. Let me just hit that primer bulb a couple times. Yep. It's working again. Yep, so it costs about $10 for those parts. I think it was like $4 for the spark plug, like $3.69 or something like that, and the filter and that primer bulb, $10 or $12. But it's a free lawnmower, and whatever little money I put into it last year, you know, there's always some kind of maintenance with things that you own, and it's good to keep them maintained and not just throw them out if they don't crank. Simple things like air filter, spark plug, primer bulb, and good, maybe we'll be good to go for another year. So thanks for watching. You all have a wonderful day and take care. Bye-bye.